While others in the royal family remained tethered to ceremonial roles and inherited privilege, Princess Eugenie chose a job in the art world, a modest home at Ivy Cottage, and a lifestyle that's more 9 to 5 than front to balcony. That decision wasn't a PR stunt or an act of rebellion. It was a reflection of who she is. Former insiders describe a royal who genuinely prefers low-key dinners over gala appearances, private moments over photo ops. In a family defined by spectacle, Eugenie quietly opted out, and few noticed just how deliberate that choice was. Her career and living choices aren't just cosmetic tweaks to seem relatable. They reflect a woman who values autonomy over tradition. While the world debated royal titles and family scandals, Eugenie was making decisions that redefine what it means to be born royal. If you love getting the real story behind the palace walls, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell so you never miss an update. Grounded, sincere, and unapologetically normal in the face of extraordinary pressure, her actions speak volumes about the kind of legacy she's building, one quiet step at a time. When people think of royals, they usually picture luxury, formality, and a whole lot of distance. But behind the scenes, there are exceptions, and according to former palace insiders, Princess Eugenie might be one of the biggest. She's been described as kind. Not just in that vague PR way, but in the kind of way that actually shows up in how she treats people when no one's watching. Former palace staff who worked closely with her say she remembered names, smiled at staff in the halls, and treated everyone with a level of warmth that stood out. In a world where hierarchy is everything, Eugenie apparently operated on emotional instinct, not just protocol. And that made an impression. That authenticity matters even more when you consider her family dynamic. Because let's not forget, Princess Eugenie is Prince Andrew's daughter. And the York name hasn't exactly been synonymous with good press lately. Her father's public downfall has been one of the most radioactive scandals to hit the royal family in decades. But here's the twist. Despite all that, Eugenie didn't lash out publicly. She didn't rush to defend or to condemn. Instead, she quietly stayed loyal. Not in a flashy, damage control kind of way, but in a deeply personal way, showing up for family gatherings, staying emotionally connected, keeping her distance from media narratives without cutting ties. It's not performative. It's deliberate. If you love getting the real story behind the palace walls, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell so you never miss an update. That loyalty isn't just limited to her father. Eugenie and her sister, Beatrice, have shown a united front when it comes to family. Through years of tabloid swipes, the divorce of their parents, and now the ongoing scrutiny of Prince Andrew, they consistently chosen connection over conflict. Insiders say the sisters are grounded by that loyalty. They've also carved their own paths. Instead of basking in royal privileges, both Eugenie and Beatrice made intentional choices to live lives that feel surprisingly normal. They hold jobs, they've lived in modest homes, and they've opted out of the full-time royal circuit. There's no palace glamour in that, just a quiet assertion of independence. And this is where Eugenie's choices start to really stand out. While Beatrice has remained relatively quiet in public life, Eugenie has dipped in and out of the spotlight with purpose. She's not anti-royal, but she's clearly pro-boundaries. Her career in the art world isn't just a placeholder, it's something she's pursued seriously, away from royal titles and pageantry. Her public appearances are strategic. She shows up for events that matter, weddings, funerals, big family milestones, but avoids overexposure. That's not an accident. According to people close to her, Eugenie doesn't crave the spotlight. She's not trying to win over public favor. She's just trying to live in a way that feels emotionally manageable. One way she does that, where she lives. While many royals opt for sprawling estates or central London residences, Eugenie's choice to live in Ivy Cottage on the grounds of Kensington Palace was a conscious nod to normalcy. It's a modest home by royal standards, and it speaks volumes. It's not about playing down well for PR points. It's about choosing a life that makes sense to her, one that's close to family but outside of the palace bubble. That cottage has become a symbol of her independence. She's not rejecting her identity. She's just redefining it. And that redefinition becomes even clearer when you look at how she handles public pressure. While royals like Princess Catherine often bear the brunt of public scrutiny with a kind of forced grace, Eugenie takes another route, avoidance. Not in a cowardly way, but in a conscious effort to protect her peace. She doesn't issue statements or clap back at the press. She doesn't post cryptic Instagram captions or make veiled references in interviews. She simply steps back. When the heat turns up, she goes quiet. And that restraint, especially in a media cycle that feeds on outrage, is oddly powerful. That said, the contrast between Eugenie and other modern royals like Prince Harry and Meghan is hard to ignore. Where they've chosen the path of public confrontation, Eugenie has gone inward. While she maintains a personal connection to them, she and Harry have always had a close bond. Her approach is a polar opposite. She's not building a brand. She's not launching documentaries. She's holding the line in private. And to the insiders who know her, that's exactly the point. Eugenie's brand, if you could call it that, is discretion. It's easy to forget that being royal means existing in a permanent PR crisis. Just look at Queen Camilla, someone who spent years working to reshape her public image, only to still be caught in a whirlwind of suspicion and mixed opinions. But Eugenie sidesteps that drama altogether. Not because she's perfect, but because she's intentional. According to former staff, she doesn't try to control how she's seen. She just focuses on being consistent, polite, respectful, emotionally present. Those qualities don't always make headlines, but they do build quiet respect among those who've actually worked with her. Inside the palace, where hierarchy defines almost every interaction, Eugenie's behavior has stood out. While some royals barely acknowledge the staff who keep things running, Eugenie was reportedly the kind of person who remembered birthdays, asked about people's families, and said thank you without needing a photo op to prove it. That might not seem revolutionary, but in the context of royal life, it kind of is. There's a long-standing culture of distance and deference, and Eugenie quietly broke that mold. Not with grand gestures, but with consistency. Her kindness wasn't performative. It was her, and maybe that's what defines her the most: emotional authenticity. While public perception tends to flatten royals into caricatures, either villains or saints, Eugenie complicates a picture. She's neither rebellious nor conformist. She's just real. Her decision to live modestly, work full-time, and stay emotionally connected to her family even through scandal doesn't read like a strategy. It reads like a person who knows who she is. And while the headlines might reduce her to Prince Andrew's daughter, those who've seen her behind closed doors see something else. A woman navigating an impossible role with sincerity and quiet. The reality is, Princess Eugenie has spent most of her adult life walking a tightrope, balancing loyalty to a deeply controversial family with a desire to live a life that doesn't implode under the weight of it all. And that balancing act? It's exhausting. But according to those who've been around her, she's managed it with a level of calm most of us couldn't fake. Behind closed doors, there's no royal entitlement, no tantrums, no diva behavior. Just a woman trying to maintain grace while the world demands she pick a side. And the truth is, she already has. She picked kindness. She picked discretion. She picked her own peace. What makes it even more compelling is that she's not alone in this. Her sister, Princess Beatrice, has followed a similar path, but insiders say Eugenie is the one who naturally carries that quieter strength. Beatrice may be the older sister, but it's Eugenie who often feels like the emotional anchor between them. Their bond is tight. When the York family was essentially exiled from frontline royal duties, Eugenie and Beatrice didn't break apart under the pressure. If anything, they got closer. They leaned on each other, supported their mother, and became a kind of low-key trio trying to survive royal life on their own terms. That includes Sarah Ferguson, their mother, who has always had a complicated reputation. But Eugenie's loyalty to her is unwavering. Sources say there's no distance, no awkwardness, just love. She stood by her mother through decades of public missteps and media ridicule. And again, not because of obligation, but because of who she is. The family unit might be flawed, wildly flawed, but Eugenie doesn't try to fix it for the cameras. She doesn't rebrand it or spin it. She just lives inside of it with empathy, doing what she can to maintain the human parts, even as the institution creaks under the weight of scandal. Prince Andrew, Epstein case photos. And let's not sugarcoat it. Those scandals have been brutal. Her father's association with Jeffrey Epstein remains one of the darkest stains on modern royal history. And through it all, Eugenie's silence has been deafening, but not in a way that suggests indifference. People close to her say the situation has been deeply painful. There's been grief embarrassment, and heartbreak behind palace walls. But there's also been clarity. Eugenie has made it clear through her actions she will support her father emotionally, but she won't try to clean up the mess. That's not her job. Her job, as she sees it, is to hold the emotional thread without becoming the story. Interestingly, the one royal who seems to truly understand that approach is Prince Harry. Their connection has always been authentic, maybe because they both grew up in the shadow of louder figures. Eugenie was never the heir, and Harry was never expected to toe the line like William. There's a shared sense of being peripheral, and they both turned that into power. When Harry pulled away from the royal family, Eugenie didn't judge him. In fact, she was one of the few who visited him in California and maintained contact. Their bond hasn't been broken by distance or drama. It's one of the rare royal relationships that feels completely unfiltered. Even Meghan Markle, who has faced a fair share of royal fallout, has reportedly maintained a positive relationship with Eugenie. Insiders say Eugenie never viewed Meghan as a threat or an outsider. Instead, she approached her like she does everyone else, with curiosity and kindness. That doesn't mean Eugenie co-signs everything Harry and Meghan do, but it does mean she respects their autonomy and expects the same respect in return. It's an unspoken pact between those who understand how brutal the spotlight can be and who've chosen not to weaponize it. The late Queen Elizabeth II reportedly saw this in Eugenie as well. While Her Majesty was famously reserved, sources say she appreciated Eugenie's discretion and her ability to stay grounded. In a family full of image-conscious personalities, Eugenie's authenticity stood out. During private family moments, it was said that Eugenie often provided emotional glue. She wasn't the loudest or the most formal, but she was present, consistent, someone the Queen could trust to keep her head down and heart open. That trust mattered, especially in the monarch's final years. In some ways, Eugenie's emotional intelligence draws parallels to Diana, but without the chaos. Diana led with empathy, but her relationship with the institution was combative and painful. Eugenie's journey is more subdued, more private, but the core trait remains, an instinct to lead with feeling, not power. Unlike Diana, Eugenie has no interest in redefining royalty. She's not trying to break the system or escape it. She's simply carving out a humane space inside of it, one small act of kindness at a time. She's not an icon. She's not a rebel. She's just normal, and that, ironically, is revolutionary. Because in the context of the royal family, normal doesn't come easy. Every move is watched, every facial expression is dissected, and every silence is assumed to mean something. But Eugenie isn't playing the game. She's just living her life with intention, and that's more disarming than any tell-all interview or viral headline. Insiders say she doesn't obsess over what people think. She knows who she is. And more importantly, she knows who she isn't. She's not the fixer. She's not the future queen. She's not the scandal. She's the sister, the daughter, the cousin, the woman who chose empathy over ego in a family constantly at war with its own photos. Compare that to someone like Princess Catherine, who has become the polished face of the monarchy. Every appearance is choreographed. Every word is vetted. And while Catherine plays her role flawlessly, there's an emotional weight that comes with it. Eugenie, on the other hand, doesn't have that burden, and she doesn't want it. She's opted out of that system, not by leaving, but by refusing to let it consume her. She doesn't need the public's approval. She just needs space to be. So why doesn't Eugenie make headlines more often? Maybe because genuine people rarely do. She's not selling drama. She's not staging moments. And she's definitely not playing into the royalty-industrial complex that thrives on scandal, spectacle, and strategic silence. What we get with Eugenie is a case study in subtlety. Her decisions aren't loud, but they are deliberate. Whether it's stepping away from royal engagements or quietly showing up at family events, she moved through the institution like someone who respects its legacy, but doesn't worship it. Prince William, photos. It's a different kind of navigation than what we see with Prince William, who carries the weight of legacy on his shoulders every single day. He has been groomed for the crown, managed through decades of press exposure, and shaped into a public figure who must perform whether he wants to or not. Eugenie? She has freedom William never will, and rather than misuse it or run from it, she's embraced it quietly. While William often appears trapped between tradition and modernity, Eugenie walks that line with ease, simply by refusing to pick a side. She just lives her life. And honestly, that kind of quiet confidence is rare, especially in that family. Meghan Markle and Prince Andrew, photos. What's fascinating is how Eugenie fits into the two extremes of modern royal scandal. On one end, you've got Meghan Markle, polarizing, public, and always under the microscope. On the other end, you've got Prince Andrew, surrounded by disgrace and silence. Eugenie sits in the middle, tethered to both, but not defined by either. She hasn't turned her back on her father, nor has she gone on the offensive against the institution like Harry and Meghan. She walks a tight line between loyalty and accountability, choosing neither full rejection nor full denial. It's a position that would break most people, but for Eugenie, it's simply reality. Princess Anne, photos. In that way, she shares some DNA with Princess Anne, the royal family's original no-nonsense minimalist, and carved out a life of hard work and emotional restraint long before it was fashionable. And while Eugenie's style is warmer and more modern, there's a similar thread: duty without drama, presence without performance. They are the ones who make the institution tolerable, those who aren't obsessed with image or power, but who just show up and try to do right by the people around them. And in a family where optics are everything, that sincerity feels like a breath of fresh air. English National Ballet, photos. Even her work life reflects that sincerity. Eugenie's career in the art world hasn't been a vanity project. She's worked in reputable galleries, handled real responsibilities, and earned the respect of peers who don't care about her last name. She's not there as a royal mascot. She's there because she has a genuine interest and she shows up. Compare that to other royals who slap their names onto charity boards and call it a day. Eugenie's work, though less publicized, has substance. She's not using art to prop up her image. She's using it to build a life outside the bubble. That's not rebellion. You can feel the contrast most sharply when she shares a stage or a balcony with someone like Princess Catherine. Kate is elegance personified, trained in royal performance, and held to impossible standards of composure. She is, for better or worse, a symbol. But Eugenie is something else entirely. Her presence is softer, her smile more relaxed, her interactions less rehearsed. She doesn't try to outshine. She doesn't try to disappear. She just shows up with authenticity and lets people take from that what they will. There's something quietly radical in that. That authenticity can even make William and Kate look overly polished in comparison. While their image is carefully maintained, Eugenie's is almost an afterthought. She's not competing. She's not conforming. She's just existing as she is, flawed, thoughtful, and human. And it's working. Not because she's pushing for relevance, but because people can feel that she's not. Viewers may not know every detail of her work or personal life, but those who do know her consistently describe her as kind, considerate, and emotionally grounded. In the palace, that's more rare than any title. In a way, Eugenie's story challenges everything we think we know about royalty. She's not the rebel. She's not the golden child. She's not the liability. She's not the savior. She's just a quiet middle, a person who inherited all the privilege without letting it rot her from the inside out. And isn't that kind of refreshing? To know that behind the palace walls, there are people who still treat others with respect, not because it looks good, but because it feels right. Eugenie may never lead the monarchy, but she might be one of the few who live its values for real. Even her relationship with her mother reflects that consistency. Sarah Ferguson has been through it all. Scandals, shame, and public scorn. But Eugenie's loyalty has never wavered. She doesn't distance herself for optics. She doesn't post carefully worded statements. She just stays close. It's not glamorous. It's not strategic. But it's real. In a family where alliances shift with headlines, Eugenie's bond with her mom stands out. It doesn't matter how complicated their public image is. To her, it's family first, always. The same goes for Beatrice. These two sisters have weathered a lifetime of royal chaos, and somehow they've managed to keep their relationship strong and their values intact. There's no rivalry, no public sniping, just mutual respect, shared history, and a quiet understanding of what really matters. That unity says more than any press release ever could. It tells you who Eugenie is when the cameras aren't rolling. Not a rebel, not a puppet, Just a person trying to live with dignity in a world that doesn't always allow it. So here's a question. Why does all this matter? Why spend time peeling back the layers of someone like Princess Eugenie when she's not chasing headlines, not writing memoirs, not making waves? Because maybe, in the current royal circus, people are starved for something that feels real. Eugenie isn't perfect. She's made compromises. She's stuck by her father when most of the world backed away. But she's also shown restraint, dignity, and emotional intelligence that doesn't scream for attention. And in a family so often consumed by spin and performance, that matters. Her story isn't a dramatic reinvention or a scandalous downfall. It's quieter than that. It's the story of someone who grew up in chaos and chose kindness, who inherited status and chose simplicity, who was given a royal role and decided to write her own part without needing a spotlight to do it. And maybe that's what makes Eugenie so hard to categorize. She didn't reject her father, but she didn't excuse him either. She didn't run from the family, but she didn't use it to elevate herself. She just stayed, present, supportive, and, most importantly, human. There's no PR team that can manufacture that kind of loyalty. No palace communications office that can script it. It comes from character. And for those who've actually seen Eugenie behind the palace gates, staff, friends, former aides, that's what always stands out. She listens. She remembers. She cares. So while the headlines will keep chasing bigger scandals and flashier royals, don't be surprised that the one who ends up with the most lasting respect is the one who never asked for it. Princess Eugenie, quietly, might just be the most grounded royal of them all. If you're just as fascinated by the layers beneath the royal facade, hit that like button. Drop a comment below. What do you think of Eugenie's role in the modern monarchy? And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive into the drama, the chaos, and the rare moments of grace behind the crown.